Hi there, welcome to CleverRides, and you are watching this video because of A, you saw a Ford Edge on the highway recently and you said, what is that handsome looking SUV? B, you input Edge instead of Escape by mistake. Or C, you're looking for an all-around family car and you're seeing if this Edge is going to fit the bill. Well, I'm here to tell you that this Ford Edge is actually quite impressive. I'm talking about the 2019 Ford Edge SEL. That's behind me there. Have a look. In white. And this one in particular sports a 2-liter twin-scroll turbocharged engine, outputting 250 horsepower. And it's not really designed as a speedster, but I will say this, it is extremely practical. So during this video, I'm going to show you what's particularly clever about this car, and then I'll take you on a walk around, and then we'll go for a drive. So stay tuned. Now, something that struck me about this car is the styling. You may have noticed that they have upgraded the styling in 2019 and 2020, and to me it looks pretty sharp. Very slick front end, very handsome car, and check out that grille. It has a nice kind of beefy, almost, dare I say it, Land Rover feel to it. But I think what they did in the light treatment especially is clever, because they took away those original driving lights, which were down here in kind of an odd mismatched trapezoidal look, and they moved them right up here into the main headlight housing. And I think it's a much more handsome and a much more refined appearance. So check out this beefy key. Ford keys have become huge. And as you know, I am a big fan of remote start. So I'm going to remote start this baby. And this one's a little different. You have to press lock first, then double click the remote start, and it starts right up. Now, as I mentioned before, check out where the driving lights are now. They move them up top. And then this particular car comes with LED headlights and fog lights. So you have a nice matching front all around. And as I mentioned before, check out that grille, very handsome.
And I've turned them all on so you can see. Look at all of that LED goodness. Everything matches beautifully.
All right, so the first clever thing I want to point out, again, is the front fascia. They have updated everything to where all the lights match. LED headlamp, LED fog, and LED driving lamps. If you know me, you know I like everything to match up front. Now let me zoom in on this grille and check that out. It's really handsome, very aggressive. Again, almost Land Rover-ish. As you know, Ford has had a history with Land Rover, so that's no surprise there. And then this particular model, the SEL, comes with these very handsome darkish rims, which I much prefer to the standard ones you may see on the lower trims or the more standard trims. The upper trim Platinum has the really nice looking kind of blacked out wheels. And again, this particular model has a 2-liter twin-scroll turbocharged EcoBoost engine with auto stop. Gives really good gas mileage, and I've been driving this thing for about a week, and on one tank I got 400 miles. That's almost 600 kilometers on a single tank. Amazing. You have beautiful indicators in the mirrors, very roomy back section as well. And then they changed the back also. Now we have LED taillights, of course. And then check this out. Look how huge those exhaust pipes are. They're massive. You'd almost think you're in the ST, but you're not. This is simply the SEL. And there you can see here, and that's the SEL all-wheel drive as well. But they look so sporty. Now, I have to be clear, it doesn't sound sporty, but at least it looks the part. And now coming around this side, very sleek design. They've updated that design, beautiful rear spoiler. And this particular car has the panoramic roof, which I'll show you inside in a bit.
And to demonstrate, oh dear, look, my hands are full. How am I going to open up this car? Why didn't I just put my foot there? You may have noticed I accidentally kicked the poor car. You only have to wiggle your foot and it will open. You don't have to kick it.
All right, I'm now in the interior of the 2019 Ford Edge SEL. And here is the front dash display. Now you can see they did stick with a rather traditional analog dial. Of course, miles per hour up top, kilometers per hour below. But let's say you suddenly find yourself in Canada. Look, you can also quickly change from miles per hour to kilometers per hour by the touch of a button, and you can have that display off to your left so you don't get too confused when you're driving down any Canadian highway or any European highway. And that's because, again, Ford is using that one platform approach now. So what you get in North America with the Edge, you also get in Australia and Europe. Same car, just slightly different branding. And of course, some of those locations, steering wheel would be on the other side. Moving through the options, you can look at your intelligent all-wheel drive features here. Get a little closer. Distance to empty, a full tank, not bad. You have a cool electronic RPM gauge, and then you can choose to go just regular gas gauge or gas gauge with the temperature, or tire pressure with gas gauge and RPM. Basically, there's a ton of things you can look at. And then as you scroll through, you have a cool fuel economy section that you can scroll through, and it shows you your average speed. Then you have all your driver assist features. And the nice thing about the Edge is that you can turn that stuff off permanently. You don't have to disable it every time the car comes on. So if you disable something, the next time the car comes on, it won't re-enable itself. That's very, very handy. I've done that with the auto steering assist on this particular car. And then within your settings, you just have a million things you can do. One cool thing to note is that if you go to My Key, you can set up and customize your key if you have perhaps a teenage driver or a younger driver who's just starting out, and you can control their speed limit. You can track everywhere they go, which is, I know, a little bit Orwellian, but you know, some parents are that way. And then you can get full reports on their driving. It'll even give you a report if there was aggressive braking or aggressive acceleration. Pretty cool stuff, in my opinion. Now, in this particular model, the right side is fairly straightforward. You have the entertainment section, and then you have the phone. That's about it. But still, it's very, very, very handy, because let's say you want to have one radio station on, and then you want to go back to Sirius. You press that, and you can always see what channel you're on without ever having to go to the main screen. And that helps when you're using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, because you don't have to go out of that screen to adjust the car radio. Rather, you can always see what channel's up and have CarPlay and Android Auto up at the same time. And I find that very, 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 very handy. Now, I've seen busier steering wheels, but this one is pretty darn busy. All of your dials here, all on the front, nothing in the back, with the exception of paddle shifts, which have a nice blue lighting on them. But you can basically figure this out. This is cruise control here. This controls the left side of the panel, and these controls control the right side of the panel. Plus down here you have your voice controls. You can advance your audio and control your volume. Eventually you get used to it and you can do it without having to look too hard at it. This car also has the rain sensing wipers, so you can adjust your sensitivity on that side. Now, looking further into the interior, you have the beautiful rotary dial for your gear selection. And if you press that middle button, that puts you in sport mode. And that way you get a little bit more acceleration. It's all electronic, so it's somewhat artificial feeling, but I find it works fairly well in this car. And with that turbo engine, you can get a sporty drive out of the Edge. It is possible, believe it or not. Then you have your electronic parking brake, which I originally thought I wouldn't like, but I've come to love it. And then here you can disable the auto stop start feature if you so desire. Moving forward, look how clean this interface looks. Nice and smooth, and below that you have the two USB ports, and that's where you would plug in your phone for Android Auto or CarPlay. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's your push button start, again a pretty blue. And then here is your overall display. Yes, I do have Kids Bop up on the satellite Sirius. You can go through all sorts of features. This car does not have satellite, but it does come with Sirius XM, so you can get all of the broadcasts that your heart desires. The climate control section is a little bit busy, but if that's too busy for you, most controls there are here. My personal favorite, when you press the home button, you get a nice little trio of screens, including a nifty kind of traditional compass there, and you can quickly access your heated seats. And this car, whoops, I'll go back. This car has heated steering wheel, which is fantastic for these cold Maryland winters. Then you have the phone settings. You have in-car apps, but every time I press this on the Ford card, this is what happens. It says it's searching for apps, and if you have an open app like Waze or My Ford Pass, it should detect it and use it as an integrated, but I always get that message. It says no apps found. Anyway, it probably is a neat thing if you didn't have CarPlay or Android Auto, but it's really not necessary nowadays. And then of course in the settings, sky's the limit. You can just mix and match as much as you want. And there's all sorts of ways to control the settings in your car. You can access them here, or you can also access them from the dash area.
Now here I'm going to demonstrate how clever this car is when it comes to using Android Auto. It also takes CarPlay, but in this case I'm using Android Auto. We love Android Auto, we love CarPlay, but I personally hate wires sticking out everywhere. This is designed to where you can put your entire phone in, tuck it away, and you don't see anything. All you have is the dash navigation. So here I am showing you the Android Auto interface, very clear, beautiful high-def screen. I'm going into Google Maps at the moment, and then of course it displays just like it does on the phone. There's an ever so slight delay when you pull up the maps, but it's nothing that I found worrisome. Another thing I noticed I could do is easily scroll through and find all sorts of cool apps for Android Auto. This one is TuneIn, and so it allows me to listen to my favorite radio stations from all over the world. Now there aren't a ton of apps available, and if anyone out there has a radar app, I'll be your best friend forever, because that's the one I really, really want. Otherwise, you can go to Waze, of course. That's one of the most popular ones. You can scroll through into your heart's content, and then of course you can move the screen around with your fingers. And unlike Apple CarPlay, you can pinch to zoom, and that's a handy feature in this one. Now I want to also note that, like many cars, this one comes with the Ford Pass. It's an app. You can access all of your car's information, maintenance. You can remote start, remote unlock. You can locate your car. You can look at all of the stats from recent trips. And it's a really handy way just to kind of keep up with your car and keep abreast. It even puts the exact car and color into the app itself. I just love these features now.
That is a beautiful sound of the panoramic roof receding. Granted, I'm inside a garage, not the best view out, but look at that beautiful panoramic roof. That's one of my favorite features about this particular car. And it's all controlled on the overhead buttons here. All of these lighting sections here, and this lighting here, and in the interior, it's all LED, so it gives a nice, beautiful kind of coverage throughout the car, especially at night if you need some reading lights. And then let me just pan down to the interior of this car. This has a pretty decent leather feel to it, and very supportive seats. Also, it fits tall people, you'll be happy to know. And then the back is also very, very, very spacious. Very, very roomy. You have plenty of space back there. Now this may surprise you that one of my most favorite features, and the feature I find perhaps the most clever, is this. Check it out. What's in the front? Oh, nothing. Hey, how about a storage on top of the dash? I think that is extremely clever, and I love it. Here's a better view of the back seats, and another feature I think is clever, and I can see people using all the time, is, check this out. In the back you have a regular outlet for your plug. Isn't that great? I know. The only other cars I've seen that do that are Jeeps and Chrysler. And then check out the boot space here, or the trunk space. Tons of space back there. You can easily fit a giant field hockey bag, which is what I have been putting back there. That's why it's a little dirty. And any large items, probably 4 to 5 large suitcases. These seats also fold down. There's an electronic feature. You just push a button and they electronically lower for you as well. So it's also another clever feature. Okay, I'm now driving the Ford Edge, and my butt is on fire. These heated seats are so warm. I had to actually bring it down a notch. There are 3 settings, and I had to bring it down ever so slightly. If you can hear inside, completely quiet. Why is that? Because the engine's not running. Start stop. It's really neat, and it saves, it's estimated about 8% of your MPG. So in other words, you are saving about 8% or getting an 8% better MPG than you would without start stop. That's the estimate, at least. The way I figure, it's also good for the environment in the sense that when you're idling at a stoplight, and here in the Maryland area, we do that a lot, in the DMV area, the DC area, then you're not emitting anything. And wouldn't Greta be proud with that? Hopefully. All right. But otherwise, the seating position's good. Again, I have a tall frame, 193 meters, 6'4", and I fit really well. It's not like, say, a Chrysler 300, but it's still a really good fit. Most American cars seem to fit me really well, and this one is no exception. And then it's raining a little bit outside, and so basically everything is automatic in this car. It has rain sensing wipers, and when those come on, the headlights automatically come on. Even at night, they automatically come on. So basically, you just get in this car and you go. So there I am, stopped again. You hear it? There's nothing. Dead silence. That's how quiet it is. It's kind of eerie, but it also is a nice feature. And it, again, I do believe it saves fuel. I think there's some debate on it, but you know, that's what I think. So how does it drive? Well, again, with that 2-liter engine, if you had that alone, it would be fairly asphyxiated. But now, when you add that turbo in there, it gives it some nice zip. Again, it's not meant to be a sports car, but for a mid-size SUV like this one, it's pretty good. You never have to worry about getting on a highway. You never have to worry about cruising through traffic. You have all the power when you need it. If you're into muscle car, or if you want to go for the ST, you'll get the V6 with a lot more power. But this one is quite adequate without being too limited. So I'm impressed. And then you have the paddle shifts on this one. So right here on the wheel, you can see where my hands are. If I want to do a manual control, I can control up to 7 speeds on this particular model. 6 or 7, I forget, around there. The ST has 8. And then steering is very light, as you would expect. It's not meant to have a sporty feel, but I have to say this steering wheel is a little on the thicker side with nice leather, and it does feel nice in my larger hands. There's also a sport mode button down here, and so if you want to bring up the revs a little bit, you can do that as well. But you may notice also how quiet. This Ford Edge is super quiet. I'm just cruising through the city, and I can hear just enough to feel safe, but also to where I can feel like the outside world is not impending too much. Even right now, I'm on a very bumpy road, and you'd hardly notice it. You'd hardly notice it. The interior feels so nice. The seating position, again, for a taller person like myself, feels extremely comfortable. I have a nice long extension on the bottom seat cushion, and these beautiful leather seats in the SEL are fantastically comfortable. On the higher trims, you also get the cooled seats. This one only has the heated only. The other great thing is that this beautiful steering wheel is also heated. I didn't realize how fantastic that is until we endured some 20-degree mornings this week, or -3 mornings, and that heated steering wheel is brilliant. I highly recommend it. So if you have a chance, go for that option. This has the cold weather package, and then just above me is a beautiful panoramic roof, and I look up and I can see all the way back to the rear of the vehicle, and it brings in some beautiful light. You can also open the sunroof. You can have it halfway open or fully open. It's a nice feature in this car. Makes it feel more luxurious, but most importantly, it gives it a lot of nice natural light. There's a big pothole there. I don't know if you heard that or not. So my past experience with Fords is that they were always just okay, with the exception of their pickup trucks, which are great, and you really can't go wrong with an F-150 and some of the more heavy-duty trucks. But their sedans, I've driven so many rental sedans, and again, I always felt like they were just okay, adequate, with the exception perhaps of the new Mustang, which is exciting. And as we know, Ford is doing away with all of their sedans, except for the Mustang, which is a shame because they've become quite good. And I really admire, for example, the Ford Energy Fusion, which is a plug-in hybrid. The Ford Fusion on its own is such a beautiful car. So it's a shame that they're going away because they finally got the interiors right, they got the design right. That Fusion looks like a little mini Aston Martin sedan. I'm not exaggerating. And it's full of great high tech, so I wish that would stay around a little bit longer. But as are things here in the States, we're definitely going towards the SUV mid-size crossover market. So they're obviously appealing to that. And this car, to me, is a little under the radar. I don't see that many on the roads. People often go for the smaller Escape, which are a dime a dozen here in the DC area, or they'll go for the larger Expedition. But this Edge, to me, is the perfect size. The perfect size. It seats 5 comfortably. I can put loads of gear in it without any problems, and that it has a really nice, spacious feel. I sat in the new Escape, which is also a very nice car, but I felt a little bit confined, especially in the back row. This back row, at my height, I can sit behind my own seat setting and still be very comfortable, and that's a very rare thing for me.
So to wrap it up, my top 3 favorite and most clever loves of this particular car are its in-dash storage system, its clever use of space in that sense, the easy conversion from miles per hour to kilometers per hour, in case we find ourselves in Canada or elsewhere, as we often do, as one does, and then the keypad entry system, which I actually didn't demonstrate in this particular video, but it's very easy to enter just punching in a code on the driver's side keypad, which is in the black A-pillar, and that's great for those who like to do sports outside without always having to take the key with you everywhere you go. This car competes with the likes of the Hyundai Santa Fe, the GMC Acadia, and some of the other mid-size crossovers you might find on the market. BMW, not quite X3, it's slightly larger than that, but somewhere perhaps the X4, and a few others in that size range. In my opinion, this one is just as good looking, and it packs a lot of features for a fairly decent price. Thanks for watching CleverRides. Feel free to subscribe, no pressure, and another video coming soon.